So we're going to do a video today on Alliance Mobilization. I think this is an event that, again, comes around every couple of weeks, usually the week before KVK prep. So it's an alliance-wide event. Of course, there's kind of individual rewards, but realistically, it's kind of important that you are placing well in both an individual level, but across from an alliance perspective, because that will determine what level you'll be in. So rewards aren't fantastic. But that being said, actually, the rewards that you get through reaching, which are relatively easy points, are quite good. So Forge Hammers, True Gold, Mythic Shards, etc. But I thought I'd just talk through a little bit about, one, how I approach it, and two, how our alliance approaches it. We have now got promoted into top tier, which is kind of a legendary tier. This is the first week we've been in there, so there could be some learnings. We very much don't want to be spending stuff that is going to be applicable for KVK prep, so we will choose missions which are relevant. So as you can see here, most of it's kind of bear activity, resources, terrors. There'll be some gem stuff, some pack stuff, but I'm an R4 here. Things like charms we will refresh. From my side, I try to prioritise and focus on the top right and left, so that you can see the ones which it says completed. That gives you a bonus of 120% or 200%. I generally try to focus on the maximum troop because they give kind of the best points. Maybe at the beginning of the week I'll do the packs or the gems, but these are the best. So I thought now was a good time to go through, as I've just completed it, and talk a little bit about kind of how I approach it. So I've completed that. Now I look at this one. It's only 15,000 for promoted troops. It's actually quite low points. So despite it being yellow, it's actually not a great one, even though it's in the category that I'd want. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of refresh that. And just for the kind of sake of video, we will kind of speed this up. So you see here, I've got a True Gold. I won't be using that. Same here, we'll refresh this. Here we get a good one. Again, only 15,000 from a troop perspective. So both of those I'll refresh. I'll take the additional points. So once you've got all the rewards, you get these additional ones in this box here, so which can be useful. So Alliance token, mobilization chests. I usually save those chests at the end, so I can show you. Here they are. I'll wait for them to all accrue and then utilise them all at the end of the event. Whether or not you get better results, I'm not sure, but it does seem to be better than doing it low case by case. So back to the event. So you can see again, we've got to speed up here. We've got KVK prep coming up. We don't want people to be using that. So as an R4, R5, you're going to be refreshing that ideally. But things like beasts, they're good. Gems are good if you can use them strategically. Resources. The ones which I find are the best from a point perspective and from a time perspective, however you want to look at it, would be the Hunt 10 Terrors, because you don't need to be calling the rallies for those. So you can just be as a joiner. So that's a great one and can be done relatively quickly if all your alliance are kind of active. The other one is, as I said, the troops. Now, what I try to do is look at, from your troop perspective, what is the power that you'll be raising each time you raise some troops. So here I've got a 36,000. That wasn't a full amount. I know roughly, I think it works out at 70, 80,000 for a full set of the power that we kind of raise. So those are useful ones to do, but obviously you've got to time them from when you're refreshing. So the terror ones are gem good. Pack ones, if you are someone who buys packs, what I'd say is, particularly at the beginning of the event, which is the beginning of the week, if you're going through and you have your weekly, monthly cards, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll not just buy for that week, they'll buy for the 2-week period that they're going to have these different cards. Obviously, kind of the weekly deals, the different things that you can be purchasing. What you can then be doing is putting those all together and utilising the kind of the pack, which I think is, the top one is 50,000, which is usually about 1,050 points. I may be slightly underestimating it there. You then also obviously can get 120 or 200% bonus. So those can be significant point scorers. Again, if you're a spender, to just align that. And similarly with gems as well. If you can use gems to buy stuff in the VIP shop or for other activities, again, try and align it here because it benefits your alliance. Aside from that, it's pretty straightforward. It's not the most exciting event. The reality is you need to have active R4s that are refreshing these things. The only other thing is make sure you're doing your daily missions. So the way I look at it is you get a free one every day. I personally then buy the 50 gems. When it gets to 200, I don't think it's really worth it. Other people will do. So you'll see within my alliance that there'll be people who have done 38, 30 missions, etc. Whereas I've done 12 out of 13 realistically. I had one which I was trying to refresh, which I accidentally accepted, so that's why there's one I haven't used. But generally speaking, because I'm focusing on the higher value items, I don't need to be doing as many of these different attempts, as they're called. So I think it's something which, depending on how active you are, what type of player you are, again, the great thing with the beast hunts is, so defeat 30 beasts sounds like a lot, but if you actually go into search for, you can do auto hunting if you have the VIP monthly. So you can set it up. So, I usually would put Diana and then put Farhad, I think it is. Apologies if I got the name wrong. But anyway, basically Diana reduces the cost and Farhad increases the speed by 100%. So you can just dispatch those, put them on the way. They'll auto hunt. They can just be out for you. Your phone does need to be open, so you can't just put the phone on sleep or close it down and think they'll be done. It does seem to stop it. So but if you're working or whatever, you can just put it on the side to run alongside. I don't need it right now, so I'm going to obviously stop that. But again, that's a useful one. I said about the terrors, that's good. Resources is another one, particularly if you're going to do it overnight, you can pick up. So I'll refresh that. But as I mentioned, the terror one, so accept, that's a great one for me to do. Then all I have to do is make sure go onto my alliance and make sure that I'm auto joining. So I will run some terror hunts, but at the same time, it's a situation where that's kind of 3 points, so don't really have to do a huge amount there. But what I was going to say is the resources ones are great. So here, 30 million resources. That ideally is one you set before you send your gatherers out, or just before your gatherers coming back if you can time it perfectly, particularly overnight, things like that. And similar with the troop training. There are some other things that we're not completely restrictive, that people can't use some speed ups, particularly if they're aligned to other events, they need to use them. But we have a view that if you want to use certain speed ups, that you need to kind of contact us and say, look, can you leave this for us? We're very relaxed about it, but it's as far as it doesn't make sense to leave those there, because if people are getting frustrated and trying to find the next attempt or mission to do, it's in a situation where they're going to spend time and potentially resource doing the things that we really want them saving for prep week. So, but hopefully that makes sense. It's said pretty straightforward, a little bit of insight into how I approach it, how our alliance approaches it. Any questions, please feel free to ask, and obviously subscribe, that'd be really appreciated. Thanks so much, bye.